Okay, I think we are live. So I will give everybody just a few minutes to start entering into the room. See how everybody is doing. Give you all just a few minutes to start entering into the room. Hello, Facebook user. Let everybody start trickling in. We'll get started shortly. Hope everybody is having a wonderful afternoon. The weather is nice here. Hey, Stephanie. Hey, everybody. Hey, Rhea. Hey, Christine. So we're going to go ahead and get started. Good afternoon to everybody that's watching. My name is Felicia Jinks. I'm actually not May. I am one of the coaches in the Unstoppable Eventrepreneur Mentorship Program, and I'm standing in for May today because she is not only on vacation, but she's also at a conference today. So I'm going to be stepping in for her. We're going to have a special guest today that's going to talk to us about some SEO tips. For those of you who don't know what SEO is, it's search engine optimization. And so we're going to have Danielle Gagnon come online, and she's going to talk to us and give us some tips about SEO, things that we can do to our website, things that we can do on blog posts to kind of get those keywords integrated into all of our branding so that we can start being seen online in all of these different social media platforms and so on. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to bring Danielle on, and she does have a presentation that she is going to share with us. So I would like to introduce Danielle.
Hello.
Danielle, how are you?
I am good. I'm excited to be here.
Well, great. We're excited to have you here. And so for those of you who all are watching, as Danielle is doing her presentation, if you have questions, go ahead and type them in the chat. And Danielle I will present those questions to Danielle as she's presenting. So Danielle, if you want to share your screen.
Awesome. I will do that. All right, here we go. Okay, just share. There we go. Perfect. All right, so everyone's picture. Cool. Yeah, everything's working. Great. I will jump right in, and yes, please ask questions. I will do my best to, I always try to make this stuff as simple as possible, but if you've never really explored SEO before, it can feel a little overwhelming sometimes. So definitely feel free to drop any questions that you may have. So as Felicia said, I'm Danielle Gagnon. I am a search engine optimization specialist. It is what I do in my business. And I especially love working with locally based business owners, which usually event planners, you typically are working in a local area, right? Maybe some virtual work, but typically local area. And I just think SEO is one of the most valuable business skills that you can have as a locally based business owner, especially. So I'm going to go ahead and jump right in. Just to provide a little context first of like, why are we talking about SEO? Why does it matter? I like to sort of remind people of the typical process when you're building a website for your business. So usually it goes a little bit something like, you start with the design, right? Everybody wants a really nice looking, professional, beautiful website with nice images. That's important. I am not discounting that. But typically that's the primary thing we focus on when we're building our websites. And then we end up putting a ton of time and effort into getting people to our websites. So advertising our sites, putting our website links on business cards, brochures, social media channels, networking, whether it's in person if COVID allows it, or in Facebook groups, email marketing, just doing lots and lots of work to push people to our website. But what I always like to say to people is that your website can be more than a pretty face. So what I mean by that is your website can actually do some of your marketing work for you, can actually naturally, automatically, organically draw people in without you doing anything, like even when you're asleep. And that is what search engine optimization is all about. So what the heck is SEO anyway? I like to describe search engine optimization as a way of writing and structuring a website that naturally attracts your ideal audience. So I think we probably all at least somewhat know this, but just to make it super clear, Google and other search engines, they're built with search bots, right? So when a user searches for something, type something into the search bar, search bots like quickly scan the internet to try to find websites and web pages that match that person's search, that match the keywords that they typed into the search bar. So it's our job as website owners and business owners to figure out what our ideal clients are searching for, what they're already searching for in Google right now, and then making sure that our content meets those needs, matches up with the searches that they're already performing. And that is really, like, at a very basic level, what search engine optimization is all about. So just some stats, again, to try to put things into context a little bit. 93% of all online experiences start with a search engine. So think of how many online experiences people have every single day, right? We spend so much of our time online, and 93% of that time online starts by someone going to a search engine. And then when it comes to local searches specifically, 89% of people say they search for a local business at least once a week, and 58% search daily for someone, for a business or a product or a service in their local area. So you can see just how powerful this is, just how many people you could potentially be reaching when you use SEO. And then one last stat before we get into more of the nitty-gritty of all of this. 75% of users will not go past the first page of Google results. So what this means is that 75% of people are actually more likely to change their search query, to type something new into the search bar, than go to even page 2 of Google search results if they don't find what they're looking for on page 1. So if you're not showing up on the first page of Google when people are searching for event planners or wedding planners or, you know, any other sorts of services that you provide in your local area, you could be missing out on 75% of your potential leads, which is obviously a huge, huge amount. And so that, yeah, it is a huge percentage. So that's why this is so important. And that is why we are going to be talking all about it today. So I'm going to get into some of the basics. Now, I always like to preface this, like I could literally talk about SEO for a week, right? There is a lot that goes into this. So we're really just covering the basics today, but it should be enough to really get you started and at least have an understanding of the foundations of SEO. So
everybody, as Danielle is presenting today, again, if you have questions, just type them down in the chat and I'll make sure to get them to her as she's going through her presentation.
Yes, please drop any questions. Okay, so first step is to really understand where you're at already. Now, this applies if you already have a website. If you don't have a website yet, then you don't need to worry about this as much. But if you already have a website that's up and running and published, it's really, really important to know what's already happening with your site. Are you getting much traffic? Where is that traffic coming from? I like to describe this as like you wouldn't go and get a total makeover at a salon without taking a before picture, right? You want to be able to compare the before and after. And this is the same idea. This step is really taking a before picture of your website. So it's super important to know what is already working for you. Are you getting organic traffic, meaning traffic coming from search engines? What different keyword phrases are bringing people to your site already? Or is all of your traffic coming from Instagram or coming from paid ads or things like that? So in order to do this, in order to get this before picture, you can use your built-in website analytics. So pretty much every web builder these days has some level of analytics built in. But otherwise, I always recommend people set up Google Analytics and Google Search Console. These are both free and awesome tools that will give you really good insight on how your website is performing, and also let you track how that changes over time as you work on SEO. So let you see, are you getting more traffic now? Are you starting to rank higher in search and show up for more people? And all of that, of course, is really important to be able to measure how all of your SEO efforts are actually performing for your site. Okay, so step 2 is to know who you serve. If you've ever listened to like any marketing training ever, this was probably part of it, because it's so important and it impacts pretty much every aspect of your business. You really, really need to have a very clear understanding of who your ideal client is before you can ever attempt to show up for them in search results. Who your ideal client is, what they care about, what problems they have that you're solving for them. All of that information impacts the way they search online for businesses or services like yours. So like a super, super basic example is if you are an event planner who exclusively does wedding planning, for example, you're going to be better off talking specifically about wedding planner, describing yourself, or wedding planning, describing yourself as a wedding planner, than you are using more general phrases like event planner. Because typically if someone's looking for someone to plan their wedding, they're going to specifically be looking for wedding planning services. So that's like a really simple example, but it illustrates why it's really important to understand who your ideal clients are and what they're looking for, what they need from you. So this is what I like to call sort of like internal research, right? So it's really you sitting down and thinking, who do you want to be serving? Who do you want to be working with? Who do you want to be reaching online? And then really digging in and figuring out, okay, how old are they generally? Are you specifically trying to reach women, men, both? Are you looking for someone in a specific like income bracket or specific belief system? Like, do you want to do religious weddings, for example, or things like that? And then think about the problems that they might have, the questions that they might have, things that will impact what they're searching for online. All right. I always have to take breaks to breathe because I just talk way too fast. Okay, so step number 3 is to do your research. So I just said, I described the last step as sort of like internal research, and now this is more external research. This is keyword research specifically. So I mentioned the word keyword before. A keyword is essentially what someone types into Google when they're doing a search. So it might be a single word. Usually it's a few words, right? A multi-word phrase. And keywords are really the foundation of SEO. Without knowing what your ideal clients are typing into Google when they go to search for businesses like yours, no other efforts that you make are really going to have a big impact. If you're not talking about the same sorts of things that they're searching for, if you're not using the same kind of language that they're using when they're searching, you're going to have a really hard time reaching your ideal customers. So research is key. It's really, really important that you never assume you know what people are searching for when they're heading to Google, and that you do some actual research to try to find out exactly what words and phrases they are typing into Google. So there's a couple different ways of doing this. One way is to use a keyword research tool. So keyword research tools are exactly what they sound like. They're typically online-based tools where you can do some research and get actual data on how many people are searching for different phrases every month. So the one that I really love is called Ubersuggest. And what you can do with Ubersuggest is you can start typing something in. So I'm just going to do, I'm near Boston, so I'll put in a keyword phrase. So you start just by typing a phrase you think people might be searching for in Google, and it's going to give you specific data, specific information on how, what? 0, come on. Let's see. let's try wedding planner. It's going to give you data on how many people are searching for these keywords every month. I don't believe this is 0. I don't believe you Uber suggested. Anyways, this apparently wasn't a good example. Here's one. Wedding planner jobs, Boston, Mass. The point is you're going to be able to type in different phrases and get ideas of what people are actually searching for. And it's going to show you how many people are searching for them every month. So 10 in this case, and how competitive they are, meaning how many other businesses are trying to show up for these same keywords. And that's going to help you figure out what sorts of words and phrases you can then use on your own website when you are writing your web pages, creating blog content, all of that good stuff. So clearly this Boston one was not the best example for me, but hopefully you get the idea. Now, that is sort of like a more advanced way of doing keyword research that's going to give you the actual data. But if you're brand new to this, if you're just starting out, you've never done this before, you can actually just use Google to do some keyword research. And you can do what I like to call keyword research alphabet soup. So basically, you use Google's predictive search feature. So we've probably all seen this before. You start typing something in, and Google gives you a drop down of things it thinks you might be searching for. So you can use this feature to figure out what other people are searching for, because all of these recommended searches or predicted searches are based on what others have searched for. If you see something in this drop down, then you can be pretty confident that a good amount of people are typing this into Google. So there's lots of an interesting mix of ones here. But if I start typing events or event planners, you can see event planners comes up, event planner Boston, event planning Boston. So that gives me a few ideas of different phrases that people might be searching for. And you can do the same thing, play around with different phrases, and then just write down the phrases that you think are applicable to your business that people might be searching for. So that's like super, super basic way to get started with doing some of that actual keyword research. From there, once you have done the research, okay, you've done the internal research, you've done the external research, then it's really important to understand Google's algorithm and how it works. Now, there are a ton of factors that go into why one website ranks higher in search results than another. People say there's up to 200 of them. Google's never really given a specific number themselves, but supposedly there are about 200 different ranking factors, different things that go into Google's algorithm that helps them determine which website is going to rank higher than another. But there's only so many we as website owners can really control. And so what I like to recommend people focus on when you're just starting out is really focus on your content. So the actual words on the page of your site and how your pages are set up and structured. Oh, I didn't know someone was,
Yeah, hey Daniel, we do have one question in chat. So the question in chat is there any difference between clicking on Google search versus the I'm feeling lucky?
So that's a good question. I literally never click on I'm feeling lucky. Yeah, I was going to say, I'm pretty sure it just brings you to an actual web page. So it brings you to whatever the top result is going to be on that page. So instead of giving you choices, it's just going to bring you to a business's website versus giving you the list of results. So usually people would go with this because they want to be able to choose their options and see what's out there. That's a good question though.
What about this is a question that I have specifically. So when you're talking about the tools that you can use to kind of come up with that keyword search, and you suggested Uber Suggest as one of the options. For those who aren't familiar with Uber Suggest, is that a paid service? If it is, are there free services that they can use as well to do keyword searches?
Yeah, so Uber Suggest has a free version. I actually think it's one of the more robust free keyword research tools out there. There's also Google Keyword Planner. In order to use Google Keyword Planner, you have to set up a Google ad campaign, but you don't actually have to set it live. So that's sort of a way to use it for free, is like you have to go through the process of pretending like you're going to run a Google ad, but then you don't actually have to run the ad, and then you can use Google Keywords Planner. So that's another good one. A lot of keyword research tools out there are really expensive. So that's why I usually recommend Ubersuggest. I think it's the most user-friendly for beginners and affordable for beginners as well.
Okay.
Okay. So let's talk a little bit about what is Google looking for in a web page? What are Google's search bots like doing when they get to your page, and what is helping them determine how you're going to show up in search results? So this is a really basic way of describing it, but I like to think of search bots as kind of like humans. If I, as a human, got to a web page and I only had like a second or a couple seconds to figure out what that page was all about, I would probably look at the title. I'd probably read maybe the first paragraph or so of the page. I'd probably quickly scroll down and see what are the subtitles or headings on this page, different sections on this page. What are those titles? I'd probably look at the images, and that information would fairly quickly, hopefully, give me a decent idea of what the page is all about. And that's really what Google's search bots are doing as well. So when you've done your keyword research, you know certain phrases that you want to use on your site that your ideal clients are searching for. What you want to do is you want to choose one primary keyword for each page. So the most important keyword for that page of your site that you want to rank for in search. You want to show up when people search for that. And then you want to use that keyword phrase in all of those key places I just mentioned. So in your page title, in any headings and subtitles on the page, in the first paragraph of the content on that page, in your image alt text and image file names, and then in what's called your meta title and meta description. For anybody who doesn't know what that is, the clickable title that shows up in a search result is your meta title. And then the little blurb of text that shows up in a search result is your meta description. And so, again, this is obviously a basic explanation because we're here for 30 minutes, but doing that and using your primary keyword in those key places is one of the best things you can do as a website owner to really signal to Google, to show to Google what your page is all about, and to improve your chances of showing up when people search for that keyword phrase.
Yeah, along those lines where you're talking about these keyword phrases, and so you're mentioning about how to incorporate it into your website.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a question here about, is there a place or company that can disperse content to you, content for you to all of your social media platforms?
Mm-hmm.
And then in addition to that, do you have to use these keywords in your posts, etc., on your platform? So can you speak a little bit to that, as in addition to making sure that you incorporate those keywords on your website?
Yeah, that's a great question, and I get this question a lot. So the answer is yes and no. You don't have to be worried about using keywords when you're posting to social media. You definitely don't have to. They're not really search engines. Yes, you can search for accounts, you can search for pages, things like that. But you don't necessarily have to worry about it as much as when you are creating content for your website. Now, that being said, I always say, if you can use some of these same words and phrases in your social posts, it is never going to hurt. Instagram, for example, you used to only be able to search with hashtags, but now you can just type in general keywords into Instagram search and find posts and accounts that way. So my feeling is like, my best practice is I try to use keywords that I think people might be searching for, even in my social posts, because even if it may not do anything for me right now, it's certainly not going to hurt. And I do think it has potential to help you get found in social platforms as well.
Okay.
So hopefully that answers that. Okay. So I like to provide sort of an example of a well-optimized web page. And obviously this isn't a web page, but I know it can be sort of hard to picture, like, what does this actually look like using keywords in my website. So I'm just pretending right now that I am a Manchester, New Hampshire, which is where I live, Manchester, New Hampshire event planner, and maybe this is my homepage. So if I decided that my main keyword phrase that I was trying to go after was Manchester, New Hampshire event planner, here's an example of what I might do for that page. So my meta title, again, that clickable title that shows up in a search result might be Manchester, New Hampshire event planner, and then my company name. My meta description, so that blurb of text here that shows up might be need a Manchester, New Hampshire event planner for your next event. Contact my company name here to get started today. Maybe the first paragraph on my page, the first bit of text on my page is my company name is an award-winning Manchester, New Hampshire event planner specializing in weddings and corporate events, something like that. And then maybe some subsections on that homepage. Maybe one's an about section, something about me. I would say about Danielle or about Danielle Gagnon, Manchester, New Hampshire event planner as sort of my title. Maybe I have a section on choosing a Manchester, New Hampshire event planner. So you can see how you're not having to use this keyword phrase, a million times on each page, but by using it in these key places, you're going to be able to really signal to Google what your page is all about, how you want to be showing up or who you want to be showing up for in search results, and really start to show up higher when people are searching for this focus keyword, for this key phrase in Google.
And as you were talking about it, that was one thing I wanted to have you touch upon is, are there strategies that you can use to make sure that you're using these keywords organically in your page versus something that's forced? Because I'm guessing if it's not organic, would Google or somebody else flag you if you're consistently using like a keyword repetitive amount of times?
Yeah. So you can definitely overdo it. And so general rule of thumb is like you want your keyword phrase, so whatever your primary or focus keyword is, you want it to make up about 0.5% to 1% of your total words on the page, which like who the heck is going to count that, right? Nobody's going to do that. But there is a really good tool that I like to recommend to help you figure that out. So I actually was going to talk about on this next page. So perfect segue into the next section. And that tool is called Yoast Seo. So if you have a WordPress site, then you can use a Yoast Seo plugin. But if you don't have a WordPress site, then Yoast has this really awesome online free tool, if I can type properly. And I don't know, it'll probably let me drop this link in here. Let me see. No, I can't, but I'll share it later. You can go to the Yoast real-time content analysis tool. And how it works is you can copy and paste the words on your web page into this box. You can tell it what your focus keyword is, so whatever that primary keyword phrase is. And then it's going to pop up with specific recommendations. It's going to show you what you're doing well for it to be well optimized for search. And it's also going to show you things you're not doing well and give you very specific information about how to improve it. So for example, it might say, you've used your focus keyword, or you haven't used your focus keyword in any headings on the page. Try using it in 1 or 2 headings. Or it might tell you your focus keyword is making up 0.1% of your content. Try using it a few more times, things like that. It's also going to tell you if you use it too much. So this is a really great tool to sort of check your work. Once you've done what you can to try to optimize the page to use your keywords on that page, then you can use this to really check your work and make sure that you've done a good job of that. So this is a great tool for figuring that out. And then the other thing I want to say in this last step is really about putting it all together. So you've done your research, you know who you're trying to serve, you know what they're searching for online, and now you use that information to update your website or build your website if you don't have one yet. If you do already have a website, it really comes down to sort of auditing your existing content. For anybody that is in May's paid program that has seen me do SEO audits, it's the same process that I do. It's looking through your website content and figuring out where can you fit these keywords into your existing content. You're typically not having to make major significant changes to your site. It's really just about getting creative and finding ways to use these keywords that people are searching for in your existing content. Sometimes, even if you have an existing site, though, you may need to create some new content. So maybe doing your keyword research uncovers like this really awesome keyword phrase that a lot of people are searching for that doesn't really have a place on your website now. Maybe it's like a really common question lots of people are searching for, and you want to create like an FAQ page to answer it, or a blog post to answer it. So there are times when you may need to create some brand new content as well. But typically, if you have a site already, it's just about finding places to fit those keywords into your page. And then the last step was checking your work, which I've already shown you guys now. Once you've done what you can to optimize the page, once you've tried to get the keywords in there, then you can use this tool to really check and see if you've done a good job of optimizing each of your pages. All right, so those are sort of the basics. It is 12:30. Should I stop, or can I have like 5 more minutes to talk about one more thing?
I think as long as you've got content, you can continue.
Okay. I just have one more piece specific to local SEO. So, and I know that a lot of you are probably serving a specific local area, so I think this is important. So local tips. Okay. So obviously the goal of local SEO is to rank high in search results from people who are searching locally, right? From people in your area who are searching for businesses or services like yours. In like a perfect, magical, ideal world where everything is going great with your SEO and you're hitting all of your goals, you would want your business to show up on the first page of Google search results and in what's called Google's 3-pack. If you've ever searched for a local business before, you've probably seen this at the top of the results page. It looks like this. There's usually a little map, and then there's usually 3, sometimes 4 business results right under the map. That is a super, super valuable place to be. People tend to really click on those first few results, as well as any other businesses that are showing up on the first page. And so some tips for what you can do to show up higher in local search specifically is to make sure that your location and any contact information for your business is really clear and is really consistent. So you want to have the same name, address, phone number, email address on your website and on any other platforms you have. So social media, any directories, like if you're on the Knot or wedding directories like that. If you have a Google My Business account set up, which we're going to talk about in just a second, you want to make sure that your contact information is super consistent across all of those places. Because if you have like an old phone number on one and a new phone number on another, or an old address on one and a new address on another, it confuses Google and it could impact your ability to show up in search. It also confuses humans, so that's important too. You want to make sure that you are submitting your business to directories, to local directories. If there's local business directories in your city, sometimes local newspapers have them, or chambers of commerce. Submitting your business to those sorts of sites can be really helpful for local search, as can direct like wedding or event planning specific directories, like the Knot is the only one I can think of because it's been forever since I have planned an event or a wedding. But submitting your website, your business to those sorts of directories can really help with local search as well. And then this is sort of like a next level step, but using something called schema markup can help as well. Schema is basically a coding language that all of the major search engines understand. So you can put a little snippet of code on your site. Essentially, I'm very much simplifying this right now, that signals to Google, I am a local-based business. I want to reach people in this specific area. So this is obviously something you'd have to look into more. Potentially, if you get someone to help you with a website, they could do this for you. But it's really valuable for locally based businesses specifically. The last thing I want to talk about is Google My Business. So if you've never done this before, if you just search Google My Business, you will be brought to this page. No, is it gonna log me in? No, okay. And you're gonna be able to click Manage Now, and you can set up a Google My Business profile for your business. You can do this even before you have a website. In fact, if you've ever done local searches before, which you probably have, you've probably seen that sometimes you find a Google My Business listing for a business, but they don't actually have a website for you to click on. So you can do this right away, even if you don't have your website set up yet. And Google My Business is really, really important for local search because that is what controls how you show up in Google Maps, how you potentially show up in this 3-pack. And it's just super, super valuable for local search.
And it's free.
And it's free, yes. It is free. So if you do not have this yet, like I said, even if you don't have a website yet, I would almost say do this first, because it's faster than just building a whole website. And it gets you started showing up in local search even before your website is built. So when you go to the Google My Business page, it'll walk you through the process of how to set it up. It's super simple, super fast. You want to make sure that when you are writing your business description in Google My Business and writing out service descriptions, that you're using keywords, right? That you're talking about yourself as, let's pretend I'm an event planner. I would want to use words like Manchester, New Hampshire event planner, or Manchester, New Hampshire wedding planner, or those sorts of words that you'd use in your website. Use them in your Google My Business profile as well. And again, just like I said before, make sure that your contact information is accurate. Use a local phone number with a local area code. That's really important. And one thing to note, you have to put an actual street address into Google My Business to set it up and verify. But if your business is run out of your home, you don't actually have to have that street address shown publicly. I always like to make that clear to people, because sometimes people get nervous and think, oh, I can't set this up because I don't want the world knowing my home address. But you don't have to show that piece publicly if it's your house.
And there was a question that says, is the Google My Business where clients can put reviews?
Yes. Yep. It is. And that is on the next slide, I think, how important that is. So let's see. Oh, no. Okay. So these are just a couple other tips. So you want to make sure, like I said, you're using keywords in any place where you get to describe your business or your services, that you're using those words and phrases people are searching for. Local phone number with local area code. And then, yes, reviews are a huge, huge piece of this. You want to try to get reviews as quickly as you can. And when it comes to reviews, it's really about quantity and quality. It's both. 82% of people say they read reviews before making a purchase. 97% of people say customer reviews factor into their buying decisions. And this one I thought was super interesting. Harvard Business Review found that boosting your average star rating by even 1 star can boost your total business revenue by 10%. So reviews really do have a really big impact. And I know for me, like anytime that I've searched for a local service provider near me, typically, I don't know what I'm looking for. I don't know anything about the service, right? That's why I'm looking for help. And so I really value what other people have said about working with that business. And that goes for event planners for sure. So one of the simplest things you can do is to literally just ask for reviews. Even if you've only worked with friends at this point to help them plan events, just tell them how valuable this is, how helpful it is for your business, and ask them to write you one. I'm sure they will, right? Maybe you have to remind them a few times. But then even as you start to get more paying clients, make it part of your business process, part of your client experience to end by asking for a review. There's nothing wrong with asking for one. You can send, maybe a final conclusion email to working with them and thank them for working with you, talk about how much you loved the process, and then tell them, reviews are so valuable. They are a big driver of my business. I would so appreciate a review if you had a good experience with me. And just saying that, being honest about how helpful they are, is a really great way to get people to actually write a review. And it really can have a really big impact on your business. And then the only other thing I wanted to say about Google My Business is once you set it up, try to stay active on there. It's not enough to just set it up once and then never look at it again. Google really rewards those accounts or those businesses who stay active. So you can post on Google My Business kind of like social media. People don't use it like social media, but it shows Google that you're active, right? It shows them that you are there, you're working, you're taking care of your business, and you're trying to be helpful to people. So if you wrote a blog post or something, post it onto your Google My Business account. Or if you just did an event and you got some images from that event, post those to your Google My Business account. Anything you can do to stay active, show Google that you're active, is going to help you show up higher in local searches, in Google Map searches, and just really have more potential to reach more people in your local area. Oh, and I see someone asked,
Yeah, there's a couple of questions that came in. So would my Google business reviews be sufficient, or should I consider asking clients to post reviews on Wedding Wire or the not?
That's a good question. I have mixed feelings about that. I think there are lots of people that look at places like the Wedding Wire and the Knot. So I think it can be helpful to have reviews there for sure. But if it can also be hard to try to get people to put reviews in more than one place. So my instinct as someone who does search engine optimization would be to focus on Google reviews, because that's going to have the biggest impact, especially if you are a locally based business trying to reach people in a local area. So I'm sure if you all, I don't know if May's actually here, but I'm sure if you all ask May at some point, she may have a different thought or more specific thoughts on like the wedding directory piece. But my instinct working in SEO would be to focus on Google, because I just think that's going to have the biggest impact. And then someone else asked, are client testimonials on your website also good, along with reviews on Google My Business? Yes, absolutely. But again, I would focus on getting them on Google My Business, because you can always copy and paste those and put them on your site, right? So send people to Google My Business to actually write their reviews, and then you can use those however you want. You can use them on your website. You could make social media posts with them, that sort of thing. Yeah, so that concludes. I think that's everything I had.
Yeah, I think that's all of the questions that are in there. If anybody has any other questions that they want to ask, you can drop it in. But if not, Danielle, do you want to tell people where they can find you at?
Yeah, definitely. If you all are interested in learning more about SEO, you can find me on Instagram. I'm going to try to bring up my account right now. So I'm Danielle Gagnon _SEO. That's where I am most active. Been trying to do lots of reels lately, which is why you see my face so much on this feed right now. That's probably the best place to find me online. And yeah, if you ever have a question, feel free to message me on Instagram. I do offer free 30-minute initial consults, discovery calls, where we can sort of talk more about your business, talk more about SEO, and really just help see if it's something that could be useful for your business. So if anybody's interested in that, definitely, again, you can reach out to me on Instagram, or you can also find me. My website is danielle-gagnon.com, and that will bring you to my site. There we go. I was going to say, it should not be black. Okay. So thank you guys so much. I know I just threw a ton of information at you, but definitely if you have questions, even if you think of them later, feel free to just shoot me a message on Instagram.
Yeah, thank you so much. Christine has dropped your Instagram information in the chat.
Perfect.
And if you all want to get in contact with Danielle offline, set up a consultation with her, you can go to her Instagram page and get her website information if you didn't capture it here on the screen as well. So Danielle, we want to thank you for coming in the group today to share those little bit of, drop those little tips for us, and how we can help optimize our website, as well as how we can go about promoting our business on Google. So thank you. Everybody have a great week, and we will talk to you all next week.
Bye, everybody.
Bye. Thank you.